Welcome to Rhetorical Analysis Essay Review and Redo for Group I. If you are in Group I, this means that you currently earned a 5 out of 6 on your essay. So you had your thesis point, you earned up to 4 points on evidence and commentary. So you either earned 4 or were on the border of a 3 or 4. And then you also earned the sophistication point, or you almost earned the sophistication point. So there's 2 different categories that you could be in for Group I for earning this 5 out of 6. And I am going to go through those options right now. So the first option, if you are in Group I, you are either consistently achieving a 4 in evidence and commentary, but you need to work towards further developing consistent sophistication throughout the essay. Okay, the other group would be you are on the border of a 3 or 4 with evidence and commentary. So you're right on the edge of almost being fully consistent with evidence and commentary. But you need to develop a bit more consistency. But your use of language and overall writing style demonstrates consistent sophistication. So you earned that sophistication point. So for whichever group you're in, your overall goal today is to establish consistency in all areas of your essay by reviewing whether you need to improve consistency for evidence and commentary or consistency in sophistication, so that you are moving towards earning a 6 on your essay in the future. So what you're going to need to do to determine which group you are in, you are going to need to go back and review the feedback on your rubric and essay. If you look at the rhetorical analysis rubric essay, if you are if you're trying to determine if you are working on developing consistency in your evidence and commentary, you're going to look right here, okay? So the first thing you want to look at is if you have like a check mark anywhere in the box 3 for consistency or for evidence and commentary, or if you have like a little circle or a check mark that's on the line in between a 3 and a 4, then that means you are going to be focusing on further developing consistency in your evidence and commentary so that you're always right here in a 4, okay? So most likely you are going to be working on going back and looking at any areas where you can further develop analysis or commentary on certain areas in your essay. So that would be the first option. If that is you and you are working on moving all the way from a 3 up to a consistent 4, you're going to be working in this pink group for evidence and commentary, okay? The second group, you're going to be looking at consistency in your sophistication. So if you're working on consistency in your sophistication, when you go to the rubric, you're going to have a check mark in the 4, meaning that you already have consistent evidence and commentary, but you have not earned the point for sophistication. So you might have like a little arrow that's pointing towards sophistication, but it doesn't show that you have fully earned that point. So that means that you have everything you need up here, but you want to continue developing sophistication through your use of language. So once you've determined which area you need to work on, you're going to find your directions below. I'm going to go through and just talk about both of these directions. I'm going to start with those of you who are working on evidence and commentary, and then I'll move into the other ones. So if you are in the second group, you can go ahead and fast forward the video until you see me start talking about use of language. For those of you that are working on developing consistency in evidence and commentary, you're going to focus on making sure that all of your evidence has commentary that consistently relates back to the thesis statement, meaning that it consistently explains how that evidence creates or supports the speaker's purpose. You also are consistently explaining how the rhetorical strategy or device is used effectively, and you are consistently incorporating the rhetorical situation into your analysis and commentary as a way to explain the relationship between the evidence and thesis And also this will further support your sophistication. So for your practice today, to review, the first thing that you're going to do is go back to your original essay. You're going to copy and paste your thesis statement here for reference. You've already earned your point for the thesis statement, so you do not need to redo anything. You're just simply copying and pasting it here so you have it to reference easily as you're working on this practice. Then what you're going to do is go and look at your essay and look at the feedback that you received from the teacher to identify any areas that were highlighted for additional commentary or connection to the rhetorical situation. These would be areas that are highlighted in yellow, or if there's a different color that your teacher has given you, then you would just look for that. For most of you, you're looking at what has been highlighted in yellow and any comments that go along with that commentary, or any comments that go along with the highlighted portion. Most likely, these are going to be comments that deal with questions of like, how does this relate back to the thesis? How does this further develop the speaker's purpose? Why is this significant? Those are the types of questions that you're looking at and asking yourself when you look at your evidence. Then you're going to, as you look and find those places that have been highlighted, you're going to use the chart below to help you practice further developing your commentary and your connection to the rhetorical situation. You only need to complete the areas that have been highlighted on your essay. So for some of you, this could be one area. You might just have one example that you need to work on. For others, you might have 2 or 3 examples. So you need to go back and look at your essay, look at it from the beginning to the end, and notice any of those areas that need to be worked on. If, as you're reading your essay, you come across areas that you feel like could also use some review, but they weren't highlighted, but as you're reading them, you're like, you know what, I feel like I could do better on this, you are welcome to add those as well for part of this review practice. So what you'll do is you're going to, on the left-hand side, you'll put whatever rhetorical strategy or device is being analyzed in that piece from your essay. Then you're going to put the textual evidence that you identified. You can just copy this directly from your essay and paste it in here, whatever quote you used or whatever you paraphrase. And then you're really going to focus on these 2 questions here. So how does it support the thesis statement? Okay, so you're going to look back at your thesis statement. Remember that your thesis statement states the speaker's purpose. So by using your thesis statement as a guide, you are already starting to explain how the evidence and rhetorical strategy supports the speaker's purpose, right? So you really want to get into that and notice that specifically. Remember that you want to be as explicit as possible. So really being clear on making those connections between the evidence and how it relates back to the thesis. In addition, you also want to be looking at, have you addressed how it relates to the rhetorical situation? The 3 easiest areas to look for would be looking at the speaker-audience relationship or the audience and occasion relationship, or any of these 3 pieces here. One way to look and see if you are really being specific in connecting the rhetorical situation back to your evidence and commentary is to look at if you're using specific names. So for example, when you read your commentary, are you being explicit in how it relates to the audience specifically? So if we're talking about the Madeleine Albright essay, the 2018 sample, remember that her immediate audience, her explicit audience, is a group of women graduating from college. So when you look back and read your commentary, are you referencing that explicit audience and thinking about that relationship between having a female speaker speaking to a group of women that are graduating from college? Or did you just generalize and use like the words the audience or the speaker, or even as general as the reader, right? And those would be areas, if you have been more general, that you would like to practice being more explicit and thinking about, okay, well, how does the explicit audience relate back to the speaker? How does that relationship play into the speaker's choice in textual evidence and strategy, and how does that all tie back to the thesis? Okay, so again, you're going to go back, look at any areas that have been highlighted in yellow or whatever color your teacher has told you, and then you are going to put those examples here and then analyze them. There's space for 3 examples, but again, it depends on how many you have that you need to review in your essay. If that is what you are working on, you can go ahead and stop the video here and go ahead and get started. Okay, for those of you who are in this next group, you are going to be focusing on further developing your sophistication, specifically looking at your use of language. The first thing you want to do is open up your essay, and you're going to go back and read your essay from the beginning to the end. And as you're reading, you're going to see if there are any areas that you feel you could practice improving your use of language. So this could be areas with transitions, maybe looking at your use of sentence structure, word choice, or any other areas that you feel you could improve upon to help further develop the sophistication in your essay. Remember that the sophistication point is only earned if you have demonstrated sophistication from the very beginning of the essay all the way through the end of the essay. Now, for those of you that are in this group, you have already earned a 4 on your evidence and commentary, which means that most likely you are making those connections back to the rhetorical situation as part of your commentary. And so areas that you can improve your sophistication most likely are related to your use of language. So that's why we're practicing with this specifically. So on the chart below, you are going to add any examples that you noticed you would like area to improve upon as you were reading. So anytime that you're reading your essay and you come across maybe an area with a transition, and maybe you're missing a transition, okay? So you're going to copy that sentence, you're going to paste it over here on the original side, and then you're going to rewrite it the way that you think you could improve it to further demonstrate sophistication. You might also look for sentence structure. Maybe you are reading your essay and you notice that you always use the exact same sentence structure. Maybe you use really long, compound or complex sentences, and you always, all of your sentences look the same. So maybe what you want to start thinking about is, well, what would be the impact or effect if I shortened some of those sentences, and if I took some of those compound sentences and broke them into simple sentences? How might that change some of the sophistication or varied sentence structure in my essay? So what you might do is go and copy one of those compound sentences, you're going to paste it over here, and then you're going to break it into its new sentences, its 2 simple sentences, and looking at how that would work. Okay, so this is really up to you as the reader to be looking through and noticing what are areas that you feel like you can improve upon. If you are needing some assistance with this, feel free to reach out to your teacher and ask for some specific feedback on what might be something to focus on, whether specifically transitions or varying sentence structure or word choice or any other areas like that. One thing you definitely can do on your own as you're reading is notice your word choice. Are there any areas where you use very generic words or even some more generalized statements like the speaker's point, or the image creates a picture in the reader's mind? If you say anything like stuff, or use the word etc., things like that that are very generalized and sometimes overused, those might be areas that you could rework to further develop sophistication. If you're also looking for transitions, you can definitely find some great transition lists by just going onto the internet, going to Google, typing in transition words for essays, and that's a great place to also look. So there's a lot of different places that you can look to explore how to further develop your sophistication through your use of language. It's up to you how many examples you choose to do. There is space for 3 here, and you definitely want to do at least 1, but there's room to do up to 3. And then if you need more, you can always hit tab and get that extra row there and do as many as you'd like. If your teacher has given you a specific requirement, please make sure that you double check with them individually on any number requirements that you do need to meet. And as soon as once you're done with that, you can continue to practice incorporating these skills of sophistication in all of your future essays.